stretch, and American Pharoah has a 4-length lead. FNX is second, and then it's Frosted, Totalist, and Honor Code. American Pharoah comes into his final furlong, and he's got a 6-length lead as they come to the wire. A Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime.
This is Saratoga track announcer Larry Colmus, and you're listening to the Paddock Pass on 104.5 The Team.
104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. We're happy to be joined from Santa Anita. NBC's Laffit Pincay is joining us. Laffit, we had some terrible weather today, but our spirits are up. We're getting ready for the Breeders' Cup this weekend. How are we looking for weather this weekend?
We're looking good, Brian. It's in the high 80s right now, actually. A little uncomfortable. It's warm, but it's supposed to... temperatures are supposed to drop a little bit overnight. We're looking at high 70s, low 80s. A perfect weekend for racing. The main track will be fast. The turf course will be firm, and we're ready to get this party started.
All right, well, let's get it started, Laffit. You've been at Santa Anita all week. What exactly is the buzz around the track? Is there any horse you're hearing in particular? What exactly is the feeling like knowing that we're less than 24 hours away from the Breeders' Cup?
There's an absolute buzz. There is every year. It is horse racing Super Bowl. It is the closest thing to the Olympics in thoroughbred racing, and the fans they're jacked up about watching champions and watching this head-to-head matchup that we've never seen anything like it, with three reigning champions in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, with Songbird and Stellar Wind and Beholder in the last start of her career. I would say that is the most anticipated of all the 13 Breeders' Cup events, is the Distaff. But when it comes down to it, the headliner is California Chrome in the Breeders' Cup Classic. The amazing run through the Triple Crown when he came up short a couple of years ago. The fact that he was completely off the radar for a year. We can't overstate what an incredible story this is in terms of the horse's resolve. He was underweight. Victor Espinosa described him as looking anorexic when he saw him in Europe. And quite frankly, just being mismanaged was California Chrome as a 5-year-old. A lot of horses, I think, would have thrown in the towel, so to speak. And the fact that he is better than he ever has been right now is a credit to what he's made of, and the champion type of racehorse that he truly is. But he Arrogate is that Travers was off the charts good, and I think those are easily, as they are every year, the headline races, the Distaff and the Classic, what everyone I think is most excited about.
All right, Laffit, let's get into some of those storylines you were mentioning. One of the most intriguing races for me is the Breeders' Cup Turf. We just found out about an hour ago that Flint Shear is going to be retired to Hillendale Farm after the race. And local trainer Chad Brown has him as the favorite, and another one with Money Multiplier. But Aiden O'Brien has two as well. He decided to bring Found to the Turf and not the Classic, and he also has a second choice in Highland Reel. Can we just narrow it down to these horses, or can we see someone else that possibly could win this race?
You have to start there, and I think that anyone who is a Flint Shear fan and understands how much better he is on firm ground than he is soft. I happen to be in that camp when he lost the Joe Hurst Turf Classic. To me, all that ensured was that you were going to get a better price in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Not to take anything away from Ectote and the work that Todd Fletcher has done with him, but on firm ground, Flint Shear is a different racehorse. There was a reason he was sent to the U.S. to prep for the Arc last year. He prepped for the Arc de Triomphe in the Sword Dancer at Saratoga, unheard of. And now this is his permanent home. So I think you see the real Flint Shear. Not to mention he was second to Main Sequence in that race a couple of years ago on firm ground here at Santa Anita. Found, Aiden O'Brien regards her as the most genuine mare he's ever trained. I was surprised to see that was the first Breeders' Cup race Aiden O'Brien has ever won with a female in Found. He's actually 0 for the Juvenile Fillies Turf and 0 for the Filly Mare Turf. All the other wins with boys for Aiden O'Brien. I don't want to go as far as saying that I think that you should lose confidence in Highland Reel, the Arc runner-up to Found, but when Found was going in the Classic, I felt as though Aiden felt he had he was covered for the turf with Highland Reel. Instead of going to the Classic, he goes to the turf with both of them. It's a nasty 1-2 punch with Found and Highland Reel. I think they are a must-use in all of your wagers. But between those top three, the race is a little bit top-heavy, And at this stage, I would say I would be a little bit surprised if we were talking about a Breeders' Cup Turf winner not named Found, Highland Reel, or Flincher.
Talking NBC's Laffit Pincay. You can follow him on Twitter at Laffit Pincay TV. Now, Laffit, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile is the preview for us to look at horses that we may see next May running for the Roses. We talked to trainer Todd Pletcher earlier, and he seems pretty confident with his two entries being Cindergaard and Theory, who were both impressive at Saratoga. The race is wide open, though, Laffit. You got to help me out here. Do I just go with Todd's two, who are both decent prices, deep. Or where else do I go?
It's really deep, and we always say how the early favorite for the Derby will be established in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. This year, we mean it. This is a special group of 2-year-old boys. Last year, watching Nyquist win this race and go on to win the Kentucky Derby, but I don't think we thought that group of 2-year-olds is as good as this one is when you start with Not This Time. And Dale Roman says he's a spooky horse, and he's never had a horse with this much talent. Classic Empire, his Breeders' Futurity win was just awesome. And as soon as they got him straightened out, because everyone has just automatically stigmatized him as this nut horse that, wheels and props like he did in the Hopeful at Saratoga, Mark Cassie's a pretty good trainer, and he got him figured out, and he ran straight, and he ran focused, and he ran fast. Classic Empire is going to take some beating. In fact, I asked Dale, I said, Not This Time has to beat who to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? He said Classic Empire. Pletcher with Cindergaard, I think his speed is more dangerous, personally, around 2 turns in a mile and a 16th than it is a 1-turn mile. I think he's going to take more catching. If he establishes a lead, we saw what happened to the horses that went head-and-head with him in the Champagne. Mm-hmm. Big Gray Rocket was up the track. Even Favorable Outcome was running in the juvenile turf. He was sideways, and that was just from being too close to the pace. This is a real racehorse who is going to take a lot of catching, and if he does shake clear, look out. Cindergaard is a absolute threat to steal because of the reluctance I think other jockeys in the race are going to have about going with him, figuring he can't run this far anyways. He's going to come back at some point. And Theory, the fact they're wheeling him back after the Futurity is all you need to know, because Windstar is not overly aggressive. Neither is Todd Pletcher. Pletcher is loaded for this particular Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And there's about 3 or 4 others in there you have to look out for as well.
All right, Laffit. Now, the Breeders' Cup Mile precedes the Classic on Saturday. Champion Tepin has really been the horse to talk about, but been off a little recently. I'm going to look elsewhere, and if I do, where do I need to look, Laffit?
Alice Springs.
Ooh.
For me, she is for anyone asking for one horse to play Breeders' Cup weekend, it's Alice Springs for Aidan O'Brien. She was a runner-up to Catch a Glimpse last year in the Juvenile Phillies Turf. And if you have a moment, go on YouTube. All these races are there. Just watch her matron, her win 2-back. Not the win at Newmarket, where she was mid-pack, and it was a Group 1 win, but she sort of grinded it out, her most recent win. Her win 2-back in the matron, they took her back to dead last, as far back as they possibly could, and the run that she unleashed, if she reproduces that run, I don't see how she loses. She was that good that day. And since they've committed to just making her a miler, it's paid dividends. She is explosive. She has incredible acceleration, incredible turn of foot. For me, Alice Springs is, I watched that race each time I've watched it. Because sometimes maybe you're getting a little ahead of yourself and you're trying to find somebody to beat a logical favorite in a Breeders' Cup race. Every time I watch that matron, I'm more impressed. Alice Springs, to me, I think she's extremely dangerous in the mile.
Talking to NBC, Laffit Pincay. You can follow him on Twitter at Laffit Pincay TV. All right, Laffit, let's get down to business here. We got the 2 big races coming this weekend. The one on Friday. Songbird is undefeated, but finally facing multiple Grade 1 winners here. She draws the inside, which I think helps her. How do you see this pace setting up, and does Songbird ultimately stay undefeated after this race?
Well, I talked to Gary, told me after the Zenyatta that he was tired of being Victor Espinosa's Huckleberry. He was tired of being inside of Stellar Wind. And what he wanted was an outside post position. He got his wish. Mike Smith didn't seem too thrilled about the rail with Songbird. Stellar Wind's there in between, and to the far outside is Beholder. And I think Gary Stevens thinks that could make the difference for Beholder in her this 3-race losing streak, and the fact that she's actually losing races at Santa Anita. I think race shape is going to perhaps dictate the outcome. And if Beholder is still good enough, if she hasn't lost anything off her fastball, then the table is set for her to step up and reclaim at one point what was rightfully hers. Having said that, you hate to start making comparisons with horses until they're retired and you have an overall body of work to look at. But with Songbird, she's run out of competition in terms of 3-year-old fillies, and we've run out of superlatives. I don't know how you don't have those conversations about how good she truly is and how she stacks up against some of the best 3-year-old fillies we've ever seen. As a handicapper, not that I am one and not that I gamble, but I don't know that I'd be in any hurry in trying to beat a filly who has won 11 races and done it all so easily.
All right, Laffit, we'll get you out of here on this one. The Breeders' Cup Classic sets up champion California Chrome versus the Travers winner and new record holder Arrogate. Is this Chrome's race to lose, or can we look elsewhere? And if we do, where are we looking?
I'd be really surprised if anyone not named California Chrome and Arrogate win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Frosted's very good. His Met Mile was sensational and one of the best ever and one of the most celebrated races in New York. I would have liked to have seen Found in the Breeders' Cup Classic, bringing that international flair as close as Aidan O'Brien has been to winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. But there's such a gap. You really feel like you're reaching when you're trying to make a case for anyone other than California Chrome and Arrogate in the Classic. With Chrome, you have a lot of data. You have an established resume. You have race after race after race where when he's at his best, at this stage, as good as he is, nobody's going to beat him. With Arrogate, you have to decide if what we saw in the Travers was a fluke or just the tip of the iceberg. Maybe he's just getting that good. If I'm reading Bob Baffert, he feels it's the latter, and he couldn't seem any more confident. And Baffert's an easy read. He's expecting something very similar to Arrogate's race in the Travers in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which should be good enough to beat California Chrome. What I want, I don't care who wins. I don't have a dog in the fight. You know, my rooting days ended when Dad retired, unless it's one of my obsession horses, an Uncle Mo, a Drosselmeyer, unless I'm monetarily invested. It doesn't make a difference to me. May the best horse win. All I want to see is California Chrome and Arrogate within proximity of each other once they hit the quarter pole on the top of the stretch for this Breeders' Cup Classic. That's all I want.
NBC's Laffit Pincay. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Laffit Pincay TV. Laffit, I know you're busy. Have a great show this weekend. Hopefully we see some amazing races, and we'll catch up maybe around Eclipse Award time.
You got it. Anytime, Brian. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Laffit. We appreciate you giving us some time. A crazy weekend this weekend. Make sure you check him out on NBC Sports Network and NBC this weekend.